most people hate going to work. We have this phrase, TGIF. I heard a guy say TGIM, and that's something that I want the people who work here at Shopanova to be a mantra of theirs. Like, thank God it's Monday. Thank God we get to show up and make a difference in somebody's life.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ecom Growth Show.
Do I say hi now or do I wait?
I'm pretty much brain fried at this point.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Ecom Growth Show. Today I'm here solo. So I'm your host, Robbie Switzer. Daniel is out and about today. But I'm kind of excited because I want to take a little bit of a different angle with you guys and kind of zoom out a little bit and invite you into a little bit of a personal space. But long story short, I watched this TED Talk on, I think that the title of it was Conscious Capitalism. And as I was going through that process, I just thought it was so good, and I was taking so many notes, and it kind of got me in this reflective space where I was kind of reflecting on our own journey, my own thoughts about business and business creation. And I just wanted to kind of share with you some of the points that I pulled out of this video. We can also throw a link to this if you guys want to do your own homework on this. It was super invigorating, super awesome tidbit on basically making a case that business is meant to make the world better. And that's a belief we've held near and dear to our hearts. It's what gets us out of bed in the morning. It helps us thrive in our company. And so I just wanted to share some of the bullet points that he came up with and even do a little bit of a kind of like a live reflection on some of our own experiences. And if anything comes to mind as I'm going through this, I want to make space to share that with you. So a little bit of a different tone here today. Give me a little grace as I go about this. It's a little weird doing it solo. I'm not going to lie. I don't have my wingman here. All right, guys. So the main point he makes is that business is fundamentally good because it's based on value creation. If you don't create value, you don't survive. And there's really, like, business is just such a cool grounds for that, because where else are you going to find that level of pressure to do that much good, right? It's so simple. It's like, if you're not creating value, if you're not making somebody's life better in some shape or form, like, you're just not going to survive. And so it's ethical by definition because it's based on voluntary exchange. Nobody's forcing people to buy their products. Nobody's forcing them to hire out their services. It's all based on this voluntary exchange of value. And it's noble because it can elevate our existence beyond a subsistence level of living, where we can achieve the extraordinary potential that's within us. And you go back to the very foundations of businesses being started, and it was all these people living subsistence lifestyles who recognized specialty in certain people. So it's like, hey, you're really good at making bread. Like, why don't you just do that and then actually trade your bread for my meat or whatever? And it started this pattern of specialization and somebody going really deep in one field and being able to transact with the value that was created, so that every single person on the planet didn't have to have every single means of their survival figured out by themselves. And it kind of started this idea of exchanging value. Business is heroic because it lifts people out of poverty. And we see this the most today in countries like India. And these transformations that are happening, it's not because of government. It's not because of religious organizations. The entity that is doing this is literally through business and transacting. And so as I'm sharing this, it just feels so cool because, man, what a privilege and a blessing it is as a business owner to be not only pursuing your own dreams, pursuing a better outcome for yourself and your family, and whether you work somewhere, whether you own your own business, whether you own your own e-commerce brand, there's a selfish pursuit in there, and that's really good. And I use the word selfish, but it's actually not that selfish at all. A lot of people are driven to give themselves a better life, give their family a better life, and the result is that more value is being created in the world. And just what a blessing and a privilege it is to be able to impact the world simultaneously as you're impacting your personal self. Here's the problem though. As a society, there's this narrative going around that business is about selfishness and greed and lifting the few at the expense of the many. There's a huge move towards people being upset with corporations, and I think there is certain levels of greed, certain levels of problems that need to be exposed. But this narrative, it's just so toxic, and it's simply not true. Trust in big business is lower today than ever. And this matters because this level of cynicism and distrust handicaps people from participating and providing creative business ideas. There's a stat somewhere that says like 75% of people don't care about the business they work for or what they do. And if that's kind of how we're contributing to something that could be actually so good, like such a good force, such an amazing source for good and for change, if that's how we're showing up, like that's a big problem. We have to ask ourselves, why has this happened? So this is where a lot, you guys, I'm going to be reading through some of these bullet points. This isn't me. This isn't off the top of my dome, but I thought these bullet points were just so interesting. It's just good food for thought. The world has changed and people have evolved. So in 1989, we had the collapse of the Berlin Wall, and pretty much everybody believed that free markets and free people is a really good thing. And this led to all kinds of positive outcomes. Life expectancy began to rise. In 1989, for the first time in the history of America, we had more adults above the age of 40 than below it. Also in 1989, the World Wide Web was created. PTL, praise the Lord. Making a better informed people who are more connected through a global nervous system. And of course, for us in the e-commerce industry, that's huge, that's massive. It's expanded our reach and given us the ability to serve people in ways that we've never would have been able to. And that was a big change. And we're becoming more intelligent. So IQ rises 3 to 4% a decade, and it's been going on for many decades. We are better educated. We are becoming more conscious. What does that mean? We understand the consequences of our actions. There's a greater commitment to the truth, a finer sense of right and wrong. I mean, listen to this, guys. 150 years ago, there was slavery here, and in many countries around the world, until recently, it was a norm that has been around forever. People, including slaves, saw nothing wrong with that. Today, it's unimaginable. 100 years ago, hardly any women even had the right to vote. 75 years ago, we had colonialism. 50 years ago, segregation. 30 years ago, we had child labor, and all kinds of environmental degradation. 20 years ago, apartheid, etc., etc. The list goes on and on. And today we look back and say, how did we live through that? Like, how was that acceptable? And it's just so wrong. There's a rejection of violence, and we're arriving at a place where we actually live in harmony with nature. So when so much is changing in such a short time, how can we continue business as usual? Lincoln said, "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present. The occasion is piled high with difficulty, and we must rise with the occasion. Our challenges are new, therefore we must create new, fresh ideas." This is so evident in the world of business and so evident in the world of e-commerce. The way people, we say this all the time, the way people buy and sell products is never going to be the same, especially after 2020, especially after COVID. Like, it's just a changing landscape, and we've never seen repetitive changes so frequently as we do today, where it feels like things just change overnight. And so we need to be able to show up with that, with the idea that business is for good. It makes the world better. And by doing well with that, we can change the outcome of how things currently are. Companies will have to ensure that all of these trends that we just mentioned will have to work in their favor. That's a pressure that has never been there before. People are smarter, they can communicate instantaneously, and the fact that they are hungry for meaning and purpose and passion and more conscious, and you need all these things to be a plus for you in your business. Otherwise, if you're not exchanging that level of value, not just the transaction or the product, if you're not exchanging value on all those other areas as well, you're just not going to survive. So it's actually creating an environment where you're having to contribute to good things in the world to even survive. Another thing that they mentioned in this talk was that most people hate going to work. We have this phrase, TGIF. I heard a guy say TGIM, and that's something that I want the people who work here at Shopanova to be a mantra of theirs. Like, thank God it's Monday. Thank God we get to show up and make a difference in somebody's life. And again, that comes back to the privilege and blessing of what it means to be in business today. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this thing where people show up to work and they hate it and they compartmentalize their life. Our companies need to start with a higher purpose. Our purpose here at Shopanova is to empower and liberate people. And we do that. The way we do that is obviously by providing marketing services. We innovate, we employ timeless principles and adapt them to an ever-changing market. We show up to the marketplace with authenticity and excellence. Not only are we relatable, we're actually good at what we do, and we just give people super good marketing services to go out and market their e-commerce brands. Why we do that? We have a couple different ways. So internally, the reason we do that is because we actually get fulfillment from providing a meaningful 9-to-5 community for the people that work here, and a community where we're actually challenging them to become better people. For our clients, we get fulfillment because we're literally empowering and liberating our clients to grow their revenue with a trusted partner and liberating them to place their focus on the things that are most meaningful to them in their life. Maybe that's new product development, maybe that's new growth strategies, but maybe it's spending more time with your kids. And so we show up with this greater purpose in our business, and for the greater good, resources are generated, jobs are provided, and this voluntary exchange of value just makes the world a better place. And products that make the world a better place and add value to people's lives are being shared because of what we do. That is our purpose. That's what gets us out of bed, and it's so exciting. And everything we do has to benefit all involved. This is a new thing as well. People used to grow their business at the expense of a huge labor force off seas somewhere, and it was like a toxic thing. That's not acceptable anymore. And so again, it's just kind of adding to this theme that in today's world, business actually makes the world better, and we're moving in the right direction. So that's super, super encouraging. Leaders in this new way of doing business are just as motivated by the creation of goodness as they are by the creation of money. And beyond a certain level, money doesn't get you that much more. The tenets of conscious capitalism are having a higher purpose, stakeholder integration, conscious culture, a culture based on love and authenticity and caring, transparency and integrity and empowerment, conscious leadership who mentor, motivate, develop, and inspire rather than command and control with carrots and sticks in an environment that's built on fear and people feeling like their head is on the chopping block. And these don't come at these tenets, they don't come at the sacrifice of performance. So we see we see a lot of the companies who are doing really, really well, they're the ones who do this piece really well because their people are thriving and they're showing up to make a difference. And so by actually fostering a culture where people are empowered and they feel safe and they feel secure, they're the ones getting the solutions. They're the ones making the money. And I think for a long time, people used to think that you need to have like this really rigid, high accountability, and accountability is still present, but feeling like you need to put people on the chopping block as a way to motivate performance, it's just not true. The assumption is that if you pay your employees better, have higher taxes, profitable suppliers, and pay to have this environment that that your bottom line will suffer. But again, studies show that the companies whose employees describe them as having these qualities actually outperformed the market 10-1. The reality is, business can create, but also destroy many kinds of wealth: financial, intellectual, social, emotional, spiritual, cultural, physical, and natural. And as businesses, we are responsible for these because we have impacts in all of these areas. And I think a lot of people don't actually take the time to reflect on that and actually reflect on the weightiness of their responsibility and their leverage as a business owner, because you are impacting the people you work with on all of those levels, whether you know it or not. So it's an invitation for you to positively participate with those things. A conscious business strives to create value in all of these areas for everyone in their span of care. A traditional business is content just trying to create money. It doesn't work in today's world. People alive today in today's world have an extraordinary opportunity to lead the most meaningful lives humans have ever lived. The fact is, our challenges are greater than ever, but so is our consciousness of these challenges and our ability to change them. Again, we seek to empower and liberate, and not only with those direct impacts that we have, where I told you, we're empowering our team to have a meaningful 9-to-5 community, making their lives better. We're also empowering our clients directly with our services for them to be empowered to grow their revenue and liberated to focus on the things that bring most meaning to them and the greater good by creating resources, sharing products, creating job careers, like all this stuff. We also have the opportunity and the privilege to invest into things like Exodus Cry. This is a nonprofit company that we work with who seeks to abolish sex trafficking and sex slavery, which is sadly alive and well in today's world, and that needs to go away. And so we have the opportunity to take the resources generated and even make a greater purpose than what we already do as a company. To do this, we need to unleash human ingenuity on our challenges in a holistic, caring way. We use the word human resources, but humans are not resources. They are sources, like the sun, steady, vibrant, and warm, not resources that get used up and are gone. That one cut me deep. He said that in the TED Talk, and I was like, geez, that's such a good point, because under the old way, under the traditional way of doing business, and even that word, human resources, we're literally looking to squeeze people for profits. Under the new way of conscious capitalism, we're empowering these people to be meaningful, competent parts of today's market. So anyways, as business owners, these are the kind of thoughts we're having, and just kind of wanted to invite you into that intimate space around how I think about business and value creation, and just kind of amplify that message out there. Again, that's a blessing and privilege that I have as well, even here on the podcast. People showing up wanting to listen to me, and I feel like there's a good responsibility there to share the good news. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to let us know. We'd love getting your feedback. I'm curious, do you really like hearing about other e-commerce store owners and their journeys? Do you like hearing from me and Dan specifically? Or do you like really going deep on an individual level on these big ideas? Let us know, rate, subscribe, comment, do all the things. And we'll catch you next time on the E-Com Growth Show.